4 wives sharing one husband with 18 children for over 16 seasons sounds like a math equation on a quiz. Yet the real test was for Kody's patience while the sister wives opened up one-on-one during the tell-all confessional.
Oh yeah, we need therapy.
Kovid 18. When COVID hit and quarantining became the new normal, Kody combined conspiracy with caution and constructed his own list of rules with a twist. COVID took the world by storm, and Kody, the leader, became Kody, the tyrant, demanding the family follow his orders. Kody lamented,
"But I struggle with the lack of respect they have for my leadership."
Completely isolated from each other, this was the first time living independently was due to a new world order, not their own choosing. Living separately was once a unanimous preference within their polygamous marriage. Initially, it was easy to overlook the dysfunction among their dynamic, but now it was their primary point of contention.
We can look back now and go, maybe we were too strict.
The intimacy tactic. When you don't put up with Kody's regulations, you won't get any action, hand-holding, talking, or eye contact. Actually, you won't even see Kody at all, disappearing like a magic trick even Houdini couldn't pull off. Kody admitted to Suki that intimacy became a burden, something he didn't feel the need to provide for the wives who did not ally behind him. Kody would only be intimate with the wives who were on his team.
Are we ever going to have an intimate marriage again? And he just said, probably not.
He claimed they teamed up against him for the sake of resentment, ruining his thankless job as a leader. Meri sought companionship outside their marriage, Janelle chose her children over him, and Christine left him without a trace. But Robyn, his most accommodating, docile wife, was the only one deserving of Kody's kisses. Isn't that sweet? Jaded. Listen, we know that being a husband while trying to please 4 wives that cannot get along would be challenging, especially trying to sustain a peaceful coexistence. Kody himself admittedly professed he did not have a romantic bone in his body, and while swimming in a sea of estrogen, we can understand why he was at a breaking point.
I wanted my wives to love each other.
That being said, when it comes to emotional intelligence, Kody was not the sharpest tool in the shed. Refusing to take responsibility for his part in his failed plural marriages, in the tell-all, Kody continued blaming his headstrong wives.
My biggest anger is the way they treat each other.
Who is going to tell Kody it doesn't work like that? But are you in love? Kody and Janelle's marital dynamic resembled 2 business associates rather than passionate lovebirds. Kody said he loves Janelle but wouldn't say he's in love, confidently expressing that she feels the same about him. Janelle being one of the least problematic of the wives, she was also the most guarded. When it came to opening up about her and Kody's relationship, Janelle referred to her intimate relations by saying,
"So Kody and I are fine." I'm not going to share too much, but we're fine.
Kody contradicted her diplomatic approach by saying,
"We're not in sync. We don't partner really well. I don't even know."
Despite this underwhelming profession of love, Janelle was sticking by Kody for the time being. Robyn's resentment. Being the favorite wife would be flattering, right? Well, not in Robyn's case. The contradiction between being the favorite spouse simultaneously combined with being the most rejected sister wife was just another quirk in the Brown family dynamic. She confessed her anger stemmed from being the outcast in the sisterhood, thanks to her maintaining a successful marriage with Kody. The more she tried, the more she was treated like an outcast. She revealed, at least in her mind, it was because she was the only one who got along with Kody.
Do you feel like you're an easy target?
Oh yeah, definitely. I get along with Kody.
With no one else for Kody to compare with, now she will be his only wife. Or his longest standing until Kody courts another one. Controlling the narrative. Kody has slowly but surely lost all forms of control, with himself, within his reactions, but mainly within his wives. Showing signs of desperation towards his inability to be the leader, Kody felt like more of a rather unheard of dictator with no leverage for influence. In the tell-all, he tries to grasp the meaning of the narrative of this conversation. When asked about Christine, Kody eventually turns to Suki and says,
"I don't want to talk about Christina anymore."
Luckily for Kody, Suki had no choice but to move on to the next question. The last straw. The biggest transformation was Christine. She was candid when speaking about not wanting to be married anymore. Opening up about her old self, she recalled how she was playing a role which overtook her identity. By trying to please everyone else, she lost sight of prioritizing herself. Kody opened up about his dismay with Christine's betrayal. She confided in her blended family about leaving Kody for good eventually. She had built boundaries not only in her relationship, but also in her bedroom.
Because I had changed so much in the blink
Christine admitted that making her home a Kody-free zone was best for her mental health. Since Kody disciplined Christine by holding intimacy from her, Christine began to gain control by making rules of her own. The fallout from Meri's Catfish affair. The infamous Catfish scandal Meri experienced had been a derivative influence as to Kody never wanting an intimate relationship with her again. The weirdest part is how Meri accepted her fate as a wife without any form of intimacy from Kody. Meri told the cameras,
"I've made my choice. I'm still here, and I do still have hope."
But considering they hadn't been intimate for over 10 years, something tells us that Kody used this opportunity to eliminate one less burden and one less chore for himself. The Pecking Order. Although a pecking order is believed to be based on the order of who married Kody first, second, third, and last, but in fact it appears to be based on the order of who Kody loves more. Kody expresses his disappointment by declaring the wives are teaming up against him for the sake of picking sides. Boo-hoo.
Like Meri was really hard on Janelle, and then Janelle and Meri were hard on Christine, and Janelle and Meri and Christine were hard on Robyn.
In his mind, out of resentment with not being his accomplice, they will reject him at all costs. But there is one more compliant, sweet and docile accomplice of his choosing. You guessed it, Robyn Brown. Out of sight, out of mind. Robyn opened up about her efforts in growing bonds with the other wives, admitting it's been really hard. Robyn goes on to explain how she recently went out of her way to connect with Janelle in attempts to figure this out. But to Robyn's surprise,
She kind of said, well, you know, I'll have to think about that.
Emotionally detached from the emotional roller coaster her marriage has caused her, when asked about her desire for building something deeper with Robyn, Janelle replied,
Yes, I think so, but I don't know.
Trailing off. Sobbin Robyn. So, Robyn had a lot to say during this tell-all confessional, and by say, I mean weep with crocodile tears running down her cheeks. Lucky her, she could barely find the words to describe or convey anything really. So with that, we wanted to include this honorable mention with a compilation of Sobbin Robyn.
I hate crying.
No.
I Choose Me. Kody's me realm of understanding ruined his desire to salvage his strained marriage with his disobedient wives. When it came to Christine, she left Kody before he could say self-centered. Christine admitted that she was fully aware of her role to conceive children to add to Kody's flourishing family tree. The cost is me, Christine adds. I put everybody first most of the time. It's like I can be the peacemaker here. What do you need? What does Janelle need? What does Meri need? What do all the kids need? Christine decided to discontinue the narrative as the selfless caretaker and make the bold move to leave Kody. She did it for the sake of choosing herself for the first time since their spiritual union in 1993. With a lot of rejection, self-reflection, and inner strength, Christine decided that prioritizing herself was more important than hiding behind the identity of her role as Kody's domestic, fun-loving third wife. There's no I in team, but there is one in single, and as the sister wives continue to balance the blurred line of polygamy, we will be here to uncover it all. What moments stuck out to you? Comment down below. Subscribe to The Things Reality and hit the bell to follow all of your favorite reality shows.